Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Dawson's Roblox Game Reviews. Today we're going to be looking at a game called Guts and Blackpowder. Although this is mainly a PC game, it's surprisingly compatible with mobile. So let's dive in and see how good this game really is. Guts and Blackpowder is a horror shooter game based in the Napoleonic era, where you fend off the hordes of zombies. Right off the bat, we're presented with 5 different classes to pick, with the line infantry, officer, and seaman being offensive classes, and the musician and sapper being supportive classes. Each role plays an important part in a team, and unlike in other Napoleonic era games, you're fighting together against one common enemy. This game has 2 categories under it: the horror aspect and the shooter aspect. The horror aspect is done brilliantly, with multiple mechanics inspired by Left 4 Dead. Survivors can get grabbed and pinned by zombies, and even eaten by a whole group of them if they're swarmed too fast. While playing this, I genuinely felt fear of being grabbed by zombies and pinned down, and every time it did happen, it scared the hell out of me. Pair this with a gloomy and sometimes dark atmosphere, and you've got a perfect combination for a horror shooter game. It was also horrifying watching my teammates get eaten alive while I couldn't do anything. So the horror aspect gets a 5.3 out of 10. The shooter aspect is what you expect from Napoleonic era combat, which is slow and very methodical. Unlike in most zombie games similar to Left 4 Dead, each shot really counts when you're using only muskets, especially since the line infantry's musket can penetrate through multiple zombies, and the seaman's blunderbuss can take out multiple zombies at once. You will have to coordinate your fire with other teammates to make sure you're doing as much damage as possible. Training zombies to follow you and making them go through narrow passageways is a great way to farm kills. With timing and strategy so important to a shooter game, the shooter aspect of this game gets a 7.2 out of 10. Though, do take it with a grain of salt since this isn't the fast action type of shooter you might be looking for. Now let's move on to the performance of the game. The game doesn't suffer from any lag issues and it runs at a steady 60 FPS. While playing for multiple hours, I didn't notice one single time where the game lagged incredibly hard when it wasn't a map loading. And yes, I know people use Roblox FPS Unlocker. It unfortunately doesn't go up to 144 frames per second. But for those who don't, which is the majority of people, 60 FPS is perfect. Even on max graphics, I still ran 60 FPS, which is something pretty hard to do for most Roblox games. That's why this game gets a 10 out of 10 for performance. And now it's time for graphics. There's a significant amount of detail put into the graphics of this game, starting from the uniforms of each regiment to the detail of each level. There's even voice acting in the game, which actually surprised me when I heard it. Shout out to the French voice actor, whoever you are. Back to the graphics. Each level is perfectly designed for the scenario the survivors are put in, with ruined buildings, burning houses, and even miscellaneous items left behind by past troops. From the smoke of the muskets to the explosions at Leipzig, the graphics get a score of 7.5 out of 10. And now finally, uniqueness. If we're talking about the concept of the game, I've never seen anyone do this before. Yes, some elements are inspired by Left 4 Dead, and it does have some similarities with other Napoleonic era games on Roblox, but the idea of this game is truly unique. That's why the uniqueness score of this game will be a 9 out of 10. Now let me give some criticism for the game so I can improve a little bit further. First off, there's no sound cues for whenever a survivor gets grabbed, and there's also no highlight, which other games have. Oftentimes whenever a survivor got grabbed, everyone would just ignore them and wouldn't even know they were getting grabbed before it was too late. And the only way we would know a survivor died was because there's a sound cue for death, so if a survivor is being grabbed, a brief highlight or even just a sound cue would help a lot. And speaking of sound cues, there's not really any music that plays while the game is being played out. Yes, for objective levels, there is music that plays towards the end of the mission, but other than that, there's no music that plays whatsoever, including in endless mode, which I understand might be on purpose to set the mood for the eerie tone of the game, but in reality it just feels more boring than anything. Now this one is a little bit controversial, and honestly I wouldn't mind if it wasn't ever added to the game, but maybe a medic class in the future would be nice since there's no way to regenerate health. The medic class would have either a pistol or just a melee weapon, as well as bandages that regenerate over time. I don't know if this would break the balance of the game, but it'd be a nice feature to see. Plus, I wouldn't see it being too overpowered, since that's another person dedicated to a support role. Also, there's only 2 modes right now, objective mode and endless mode. I'm assuming this is because of the development period since this game hasn't been out for too long yet, but to add on to that, the objective mission length is kind of weird. One mission takes over 20 minutes, while another one only takes about 10. Once again, this game hasn't been out for too long, so I won't go too hard on them for that. Anyways, let's wrap this up quickly. Guts and Blackpowder gets a 7.8 out of 10 overall. And honestly, I'm still playing this game right now. So if you want to come along and join me in this game, I'll put a link in the description below. Go ahead and check it out yourself and see what you think of it. This is Dawson from Dawson's Roblox Game Reviews, and I'll see you next time.